So Jeremiah, like the prophets before him, prophesied not only against Judah, but against the nations, the enemy nations. And these chapters recount God's promises or promise of judgment against Egypt, the Philistines, and Moab, Israel's surrounding nations. Egypt was in a position of power during the time of the prophecy, but Jeremiah lets them know that that'll change and Pharaoh will be powerless and the people will be going into exile. God spoke reassuringly to the Israelites in Egypt and tells them not to be afraid, affirming the fact that he's still with them and despite their disobedience. Even though it's still not going unpunished, that disobedience will be punished, but that he loves them. Or he loved them. He told them that he loved them. The Philistines had a sword of judgment to look forward to. And while while they themselves spilled blood to wake up their gods. So yes, I remember the Philistines. And I thought that was very funny. That God slept, and then, when they call upon their God and their God doesn't answer, they begin to cut themselves to wake up the gods. I'm like, really? You have gods that sleep and are woken up by blood? But hey, it was weird practice, if you ask me. But, obviously God was going to judge them for that. The Moabites appeared to have had an easy, smooth sailing in life so far. They hadn't experienced exile, but God promises them a change and a time when they will experience the wrath of God, his wrath, due to their arrogance and pride and putting their hope in and strength in their wealth, because apparently they were wealthy. They were guilty of magnifying themselves above God, and God was going to judge them for that. Although Moab is an enemy nation, God promises in that word to restore their fortunes in a later day, and that's what we saw in chapter 48 verse 47. Though this could for me, I thought, why Moab, but then this could actually have something to do with the fact that there is some connection between Moab and Israel. So remember the ties of Moab through Ruth, who was David's grandmother. And then obviously that linked to the line of Jesus. So again, restoration, blessing, or consideration by association. So here's my hashtag Getting to Know God lesson. God is sovereign over all the nations and all the people. He sends prophets not only to his people, but also to the nations, people who most and generally are enemies of his people. Nations that are usually pagan nations with their own gods who look out for them and their own, looking at their own territories or being focused on their own territories. But God shows himself as set apart from all their gods, because most of them, they had gods, or the gods of this, the gods of that, but God was God of all of that, right? And he is the God of gods and speaks to the nations like none of their own gods could. Because, like I said, the gods were mostly territorial, but he was God. He is God of all. Thank you for joining me today, and we'll continue with the book of Jeremiah. We're going slowly and steadily to the end, and I hope you're being blessed as much as I am. Looking forward to sharing with you tomorrow. Have a good day.